didn't know that Lewis Cole was on the soundtrack. That's very cool that Darren Korb is working with him. I had so many suggestions on the previous Hades video. They're like, do the End of Time. The drums are cool. Yeah, the drums are cool. This is Lewis Cole. That's the drummer for the band Knower. I love the band Knower. The timing on this video is cool. 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'm going to see Knower live in Seattle. So this is really cool. Hello and welcome in, by the way. My name is DrumRollTony, long-term musician and music director living here in Seattle. All right, I'm very excited for this. Here we go. I love all those descending, falling sounds against the stanky groove. Cool melody. Okay. Yeah, man. All right. Oh, this is beautiful. We'll go back a second time at the end and talk more about the music, specifically what's going on musically. This is really cool. That groove is so stanky versus those cool descending sounds and the layering. Darren Korb is very cool with the layering of this like kind of rhythm guitar that comes in versus that wide open, almost eerie melody that's happening. Obviously, drum is main character here with all these like implementation differences between the double kick coming up through. You get like all this rim stuff happening on the toms, different parts of the cymbals happening. But man, let's keep going. A little more filled out this time. Bass underneath. Woo! Syncopation. Come on, man. Where are we going? Listen to the augmentation of that groove. Oh man, this is like a master class. And how do you take a groove idea with minimal, with the voicings around it, meaning the groove from the guitar, the melodic content that's coming in underneath that, and how to make sure that that keeps augmenting and flowing and new ideas get introduced in there. But it's also very Lewis Cole with the way the percussion is being played. We'll talk about it more on the second. I don't want to do it too much on the first time because people tend to tune out so quickly. But I just really, really, really love and appreciate the way that he approaches drum set. So let's keep going here. But we'll go back in the second time. We'll talk about it in more detail. I can feel that kick drum in my soul. Yeah, that's fun. Superimpose the triplets against that. this really is the masterclass about taking theme with minimal variations within the harmonic style, that meaning quarterly, how the function's going between the guitars, and then letting the drums be pretty much have all the augmentation of ideas happening there. Those are some serious, man, some of those grooves are so dirty, like in a great way, like dirtiest in the best way possible. I cannot wait to go back and listen to that again. But at the end of that, all stuff, that's choppy too. Like this is very, very cool. Okay, we're at 327. Let's go back a couple seconds, let it play out, and then we'll go back again. That was cool. I'm going to tell you my favorite part about this right now before we go back. Initial reaction, I loved it. My favorite part is how much you can tell. If you're familiar with him, you can tell it's him. If you're not familiar with him, you can tell that's a real person drumming on that. And we get a very tangible and intimate musician experience with the percussionist being used as the primary. So obviously I have a lot of bias with that, but anyone with ears can sit down and be like, whoa, this sounds really different than like some completely, programmed and just falsified. This is a very human experience. So wonderful. All right, let's go back a second time and listen to it again. Okay, we got to go back and talk about what's actually really important about what happens at the very beginning. He drops into this groove. This groove on the drum kit is the main character for the song that it establishes so much. It obviously gets super augmented. He plays the hell out of it, and it gets really complicated as it goes on. But he drops right into it in the beginning, and it sets the tone for everything. What did we say on the first listen? I said it's stanky. Stanky doesn't mean anything musically other than you're going to make the audience have stank face because, it's groovy, man. They're digging it. But why? We need to talk about why. We need to talk about phrasing. We need to talk about time signatures. We need to talk about grouping. We got to talk about that right now. So it feels like 3 groupings of 6 and 1 grouping of 7. I'll count it with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we come in with some melodic material there. Now, granted, the hi-hat work is really cool and the mix feels right, nice. It's like personal and stuff. But okay, it's about the groove, specifically the relationship, the syncopation between the bass drum and the snare, specifically the bass drum. Listen to this. You get 2 beats on the down, and you get 3 beats on the up. You get down, down, up, up, up. Specifically 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and sorry, I can't count it and do it at the same time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. God damn it. I can normally do that. I'm messing up. But anyway, if you listen specifically, you can hear it. That sets the tone for everything. Let's keep going, but that is the foundation. Obviously cool descending melodic material there. And it's spacey with the other sounds happening. And already variation within the groove. Yeah, like, oh my God, it's so good. There's so many cool things happening there. Rhythm guitar, and then suddenly that groove stays there, but we get all these implementation changes. Okay, the groove stays there, though. I know sometimes it's difficult to fundamentally listen down all the way to like what is your lowest common denominator in the fraction of music. It's that all these other cool things are happening around. We get double kick goes on. We're moving around. We get different styles of snare drum usage between accented note, ghost notes, shot notes, like rim shots happening, and then all these cool things in the cymbals come up. Like, he's a very good player and is able to introduce all these sounds that make the groove really special, and they kind of call because it's fun, right? It's just like, oh, this is showy. There's all these like cool notes happening, but yet that stanky groove that we already kind of dissected in the beginning is still there and present. That's where it's really difficult, and that's where the musicianship shines through. It's a beautiful thing. Rim usage on the side. with the tom. It's so cool. Oh, I love that. That's a really fun way to wrap that phrase up. And then cool little simple things happening, and then we're back into the groove again. And it's kind of like you've got like A, and then A prime, and like A double prime. We keep taking these ideas and stacking stuff on top of it, and then by the time we get to the end, we're freaking out in the first listen. We're like, oh my God, there's so much happening. All right, I went back 5 seconds. Already variations. Feels like, oh dude, it feels like he's playing. There's a couple ways you can achieve that sound, that like open. It feels like he's playing the, like just opening the hi-hat a little bit and playing literally on the hi-hat pole, like where it's a little bit like thicker, more to the bass, because it has some like thin resonance to it. That's really cool and creative. And it's all about all the multiple sounds that are being achieved here over this groove. That's cool. I was so hyper fixated on the drums, I didn't even notice that the bass player had crawled in here a little bit. And on the second listen, I did notice it was a faint amount of bass in the beginning, but not really enough to make too many remarks about, but it's definitely a snuck in here. Like little stuff like that is so groovy, man. Back about 6. Come on, man. Like, that's genius stuff. Sometimes you just gotta laugh because it's like, oh man, that works so well. Because we're getting a lot of the now we get and all kinds of space, and then and the fill is gonna bring us across the bar line to just connect us again. And even on the second listen, I am hearing a little bit of variations on the kick pattern that we talked about in the beginning. So it's just, how I was struggling, like counting the offbeats and like clapping at the same time. Imagine trying to play all that stuff with your limbs on the drum kit. That's where the levels of proficiencies are so cool, to admire musicians that can do all this stuff. Yeah, man, I didn't notice that pinch harmonica and guitar before. This is much more full that time. It's a lot more full. The right side guitar mix, I'm hearing much higher register happening. That's cool. Obviously, a cousin. The bass drum groove feels very different here. So this is kind of like bridge-esque. It's a distant cousin of the groove that was being featured before. But if you just like, obviously the constant, it's, you can hear that, but try to ignore that and just listen down to where the feet are in the bass drum side of the groove. And now the other dot to connect is the relationship of that to the ghost notes. Ghost notes meaning lower velocity notes on the snare drum that are kind of complementing and responding to the much more present and felt kick drum stuff, the bass drum stuff that's happening there. We'll go back, that's 153. Let's go back to like 142. So now try to hear how the snare, he's responding the snare to the kick drum. That's beautiful. Ooh. Yeah, that's really cool. Now, remember, you give 15 drummers this song to play. 15 drummers are going to have their style and their type of communication on. That's the beautiful. We were talking about this in a Patreon video earlier today on an exclusive video. It was like the intimacy of relationships and how like playing music is very similar to like, human relationships because it's just an extension of it. Every musician has something different to offer. And Lewis's approach, his type of grooves, it's nice because, we listen to a lot of drummers that might play way too many notes in the place of this, but there are still a lot of notes happening right here, but they're so tasty in the way of the ghost notes, while not super loud, add so much musical value, if that makes sense. Now, granted, this is also a thing, about speaking of tasty, right? What is your musical taste? Do you like drumming like that? Is that something that's appealing to you? Is it just some folks might just hear that and it might just be noise. It might just be sound. They might hear like a beat and a groove, but they're not isolating the different parts of like thinking about, when you listen to a drum kit sound, the high end, like all the metallic sounds we get, like kind of going down to toms, then to like the middle ground of how commanding a snare drum is and how all that is driven by the kick drum. And then all the things that kind of happen as we combine those. That's a lot of creativity for an artist, the drummer to have just within that voice. Because real quick, I'm sure you heard the stereotypes. People make fun of drummers all the time. Like, oh, you don't play a melodic instrument. There's a lot of melodic stuff happening. Like, granted, yeah, okay, in percussion, like xylophone and marimba are, way more melodic in a traditional sense than a drum set. However, there are so many melodic phrases and just contributions to the music happening here that you need to kind of like open your ears to kind of allow all that to come in, because it allows for a much more enriched percussion experience, if that makes sense. Okay, I went back 5 seconds. Dude, that's so beautiful. Listen how hard he's kicking the kick drum right there. Coming out of that. All right, I love that. Just a little bit. Just put that on top a little bit. One more time. It just pulled back on it the second time. It almost felt like we had a little bit of a DJ scratch on the sixth partial of each of those triplet figures. That's pretty cool. Oh, they're not. Sorry, it was mixed between. It wasn't just a sixth. Borderline solo-esque. Groove is still there, though. Listen to the variety of snare drum sounds we get. You know that section's coming, so that's kind of the foreshadowing of where we're going to go musically. Now we're getting a little bit more like, okay, it's clearly drum feature-esque at this point, so the voicings are going to be a lot more dominant and on top, and like the guitar and the groove is going to kind of melt into the background a little bit, while drums take more of just, it's just more of a commanding presence here. But did you hear the phrasing, how we came all of that kind of central drum kit, and then we end over on the tom, and it's a very, like, it's so obviously a different experience to bring you out of that, to get into the ba-ba-dum-wump section of that phrase. Hold on. Just go back like 10 seconds, or yeah, about that. Those cymbals piercing. Listen how different that was. That is the most varied part in the song. We have all this, like the ascending material between the harmonic, like the guitar support, versus what is being played on drums. We're going to go back. That's pretty explosive compared to everything else that we've had, which is killer because it's the climax of what's happening. And then we're going to come out of that and resolve. video game music. Like, how cool is this? We talked about that in the last video as well. That's nice guitar work right there. It just feels so personal. Like Lewis Cole is a special person, and I'm really happy that this is the way. It's kind of fun going in because I had no clue. But that's one of the cool things about this. Might sound dumb to you, but one of the cool things about doing a YouTube channel like this, where I take most of the stuff we do is community suggestions, whether it's from a Discord, whether it's this is from the comment section of the previous video, and whether it's from Patreon. I go in not really knowing what we're about to do. Obviously, as I get familiar with groups that we do often, there's some like expectations that happen, but I didn't know at all that Lewis Cole was going to be in this. So it's like a massive treat. And then the other side, we talked about this in the last video too, that I'm going to geek out about is like, this is video game music. Think about the progression of where we've come. I've been a gamer for a very long time and I'm thankful to have been exposed to the progression of where we're at now from where we were then. But the whole time it's been cool. At no point has it been lame, but it just keeps like when you're in something for a while, you're like, man, we've really come a long ways. This is where we're at. So anyway, that's what I think about this. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below.